A man who jumps from one pursuit to another every few months chases only the illusion of progress. The truth is that excellence demands devotion, the slow sharpening of skill, the endurance of monotony, and the humility to remain a student for years before glimpsing mastery. Seneca warned that to be everywhere is to be nowhere, and this remains the disease of our age. Those who scatter their attention will never gather true strength. We disguise our fear of failure with constant beginnings, telling ourselves we are not ready, that tomorrow will bring the perfect conditions. But Epictetus would call this self-deception. He would remind us that hesitation is rarely about readiness, but about courage. The fear is not in the act itself, but in the possibility of giving everything and still falling short. Yet what greater failure is there than to live as one who never dared, one who chose safety over the dignity of the attempt? The Stoics would tell you that mastery, whether in craft, wealth, or wisdom, is never found in novelty, but in depth. The Stoic path insists that the future belongs not to the man who collects scattered tricks, but to the one who cultivates skills with discipline and then wields them together like a philosopher warrior. Robert Greene echoes this when he writes of combining talents creatively, for strength is multiplied when diverse disciplines are united under one steady mind. The most successful, then, are not those who chase outcomes, but those who recognize that their true prize is the story of their struggle, the integrity of their character, the testimony that, when called by life's challenge, they answered. Marcus Aurelius wrote nightly reminders to himself, not about wealth or applause, but about being able to say, "I lived as nature demanded. I fulfilled my role." That story, not the fleeting applause of men, is what nourished his soul. And what of money? It is not gained by words, by endless declarations of what one will do, but by quiet, relentless building. Talk is cheap, action is priceless. Seneca cautioned that we waste much of life merely speaking about life. In truth, while some dream, others labor. While some debate, others create. While some imagine, others endure the grind, and it is to them that the rewards flow. There are two kinds of people, always, the doers and the watchers. The doers embrace discomfort, accept responsibility, and move forward with imperfect action. The watchers cloak themselves in commentary, distracting themselves by analyzing the courage of others, but never stepping into the arena themselves. Marcus would warn us not to become one of the latter, for that is a life both bitter and hollow. The Stoics might smile wryly at the phrase, "The fastest way to become rich is to socialize with the poor," for they themselves lived with little and yet counted themselves wealthy. But beneath the shock of the line is a truth. Wisdom and strength are not found in insulating oneself among the comfortable, but in spending time with those who test your resilience, awaken your empathy, and remind you of the simplicity of life. Seneca would say that the poor man who desires nothing is richer than the king who demands everything. Wealth is not in gold, but in freedom from need. And when you associate with those who live closer to necessity, you begin to see how little you truly require to flourish. Never has it been easier to succeed, for the tools of progress lie within our pockets, knowledge at our fingertips, opportunity on every corner. Yet never has it been harder to focus, for the distractions of the age are endless, engineered to scatter the mind. Epictetus would remind us that external things do not disturb us, only our judgments about them. But if you fail to discipline your attention, if you let your focus be captured by every glowing screen and fleeting notification, then you voluntarily surrender the only true wealth you own, your time. Success in this age belongs not to the most talented, but to the most undistracted. The Stoics would also warn of the danger of doing too much. The modern world worships the busy man, the one who appears in constant motion. But busyness is no proof of effectiveness. The price of attempting everything is mastery of nothing. Just as a blade grows dull if struck against too many surfaces, so too does the mind dull itself when divided into endless tasks. Marcus would say, if you seek tranquility, do less, or rather, do only what is essential. Simplicity, not accumulation, leads to strength. In commerce as in life, the Stoics would acknowledge that attention precedes influence. One may build a magnificent product, but if no eyes are turned toward it, it will gather dust. Thus, marketing is not vanity, but necessity, for without it, the value you create remains hidden. Yet they would caution, let your marketing be honest, let it be aligned with your true value, for deception may win a moment, but integrity wins a lifetime. As Marcus said, what is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. Impatience, the Stoics would say, is one of the costliest vices. The desire for shortcuts betrays an unwillingness to suffer through the natural rhythm of growth. Every attempt to leap past the process returns later as a heavier burden. Seneca observed that life's trials cannot be dodged, they can only be endured with courage. Thus, every time you try to rush the harvest, you weaken your character and guarantee future expense. The wise man accepts that what is great is never built quickly, and that time, rather than being an enemy, is the most faithful ally of mastery. The addiction to information is another sickness of our time, one that the Stoics would have seen with clarity. Reading endlessly, consuming ceaselessly, chasing one more insight, one more strategy, one more perspective, all while neglecting to apply what is already known. Seneca himself admitted that it is better to read deeply than widely, to truly digest one book than to skim through 1,000. Execution, not accumulation, is what separates the philosopher from the mere scholar. Epictetus taught that philosophy is not something to be discussed endlessly, but something to be lived. The one who acts on what he knows, however little that may be, is infinitely more powerful than the one who knows much but does nothing. For knowledge without action is a weight that suffocates rather than frees, but knowledge applied becomes strength. So the Stoic expansion of these truths converges on a single point. The path to excellence, wealth, and freedom lies not in chasing novelty, not in waiting for the perfect moment, not in filling yourself with endless information, but in narrowing your focus, disciplining your actions, and persevering through the discomfort that mastery demands. To act with integrity, to pursue depth over breadth, to embrace patience over haste, to live more in deeds than in words. This is the formula the ancients would hand down to us, unchanged and eternal. For while technology advances and society evolves, the human soul remains bound by the same principles. Distraction weakens it, discipline strengthens it, fear paralyzes it, courage liberates it. And so if you seek success in this chaotic age, look not to the fleeting promises of shortcuts, but to the steady rhythm of Stoic practice. Do what is essential, do it well, endure what you must, and let your life itself be the story worth telling.